Yo, what's up, guys? We are back again. Welcome to the Black Diamond Podcast. This time, I got a great episode for y'all with Dr. Umar, Nick Cannon, and basically going over marriage and the Cam Newton and Dr. Bryant conversation. So let's get into it. Before we do that, though, I'm asking you guys, please help me out to reach 10,000 subscribers. Subscribe to the channel, comment, leave a like, and I'm not leaving you without a gift. So when I reach 10,000 subscribers, I'm giving away this brand new Switch once I reach 10,000 subscribers. So join me on this journey. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share the video with somebody. But help me reach 10,000 subscribers, and one of my subscribers will have the chance to win this brand new Switch. See you on the journey. Catch you on the video.
And marriage is a institution where we regulate the conduct and intimacy between men and women to make sure that the products of those unions, which are the children, are raised in a structured environment so that they become psychologically healthy individuals who can contribute to the maintenance and perpetuation of the community as opposed to being agents of its destruction.
Right.
So marriage is necessary to guarantee that children are being raised in the safe spaces that they need to become the healthy individuals that the community depends upon to further itself. With that being said, we don't necessarily get married because it is good for us, but we get married because it is good for the community. With that being said, in her conversation with Brother Cam Newton, and his people reached out to me recently, so I may have this conversation with him as well. But in Dr. Cheyenne's conversation with Brother Cam, he said, my fear of divorce exceeds my desire for marriage. And he said, and I may be paraphrasing a little bit here, that he was taking his time to find the right woman to build with. And Dr. Cheyenne, rightfully so, saw that as a contradiction and she went right in.
Right.
And she said, paraphrasing, how can you be patient about looking for the right woman, but you're impatiently making all these children with unmarried women? In other words, if you're going to take your time and find a woman, slow down and take your time with impregnating them as well.
Right.
To that point, I understood her point. Now here's where the irony comes in, and I'm gonna bring it back to you for a question.
Right.
Cam Newton flipped it, and he said, okay, you're evaluating and criticizing the fact that I have 8 children by 3 different women.
Right.
And I still want more children,
Right.
even though I'm being patient in finding my mate.
Right.
But you're 41 and haven't had any children. To what can we attribute your behavior?
Right.
Here's the irony. Her answer to Cam was exactly Cam's answer to her. She said she was taking her time. So I'm looking at this as a psychologist, right?
Right.
And then Cam comes with another question. He says, what age or how young can your potential mate be? She mentioned 26, 27. I said, as a therapist, bingo. I said, I know why Dr. Cheyenne Bryant isn't married. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has a fear of abandonment. And the reason why a 26, 27-year-old spouse possibly would be appealing to her is she could parentify herself in that relationship where she becomes the mommy and the mate. And in being the mommy and the mate, I'm able to coddle my young partner. And in doing so, I get to control his behavior, therefore preventing the abandonment that I fear. When I looked at her conversation with you, you asked her the same question as well.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? And she talked about how she almost jumped the broom 4 times.
She's been engaged 4 times.
So
Damn.
once again, my therapy lights went off, and I said, here it goes again. The reason Dr. Bryant never managed to jump the broom on those 4 occasions is because her abandonment issues that she honestly put out there are so strong that she has a tendency to want to over control her mate as a means of preventing the abandonment. And in her over control of these men who do not want to be over controlled, she either pushes them away or they leave of their own volition because they don't like the manner in which she wants to control the relationships.
Look at these doctors doctoring on doctors.
Here's the point that I'm making though. And this is an all love to Dr. Bryant because she's brilliant. I
Right.
love my sister. I believe that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is quite possibly the same personality type as Nick Cannon and Cam Newton. I believe that all 3 of you are serial monogamous with narcissistic tendencies.
Wow.
First of all, serial monogamy and narcissism go
Go
together.
together.
Because when you look at the narcissist, grandiosity,
Yeah.
too important to commit one's emotional resources,
Mhm.
to not want to invest emotionally. When I look at a woman that beautiful without a child, the marriage I can understand is slim pickings for sisters. That beautiful without a child, that was deliberate. And I believe that she may be an example of one of our sisters who says they're waiting for the right one, but may not necessarily be waiting for anyone at all. But because it's expected of me as a black woman to get married, I need to have a justification for why I am not. The question that I have for you, Brother Nick, do you think that you attract women who are very much like you because the expectation of emotional investment is very minimal from those women? In other words, they're fine with us going half on the baby, and we're going to raise this baby together. Beyond that, I'm not looking for much more from you, bro. That's the
Right.
sister,
Right.
right? Do you think that you may attract women who are looking for minimal emotional investment from their partner because if she expected that, you would be forced to move out of your comfort zone and actually have to experience without reserve what it really means to be intimately involved and emotionally responsible for a woman?
Absolutely. But I say that in the sense because I think the institution of marriage is no longer valued at that level for.
But even if it's not, that doesn't necessarily have to do with you and the
No.
way in which you
Because-
engage queens.
Yeah, but like I said, because the type of women that I'm normally around or attracted to are usually, as we call them, the independent woman, the
Right.
woman that's on the grind, the
Right.
boss, the one that's about hers, and even like, because again, it's very interesting. Because I'll take it back. We all have stages of life.
Mhm.
I was at a certain stage in my life a few times early on where I wanted to do it in a traditional setting the right way. I was the young Christian brother, early 20s that wanted a relationship to work so much that I was willing to be celibate with my partner and do pastoral counseling and we gonna do
And
this.
because those situations
Didn't
turn
work.
out the way you wanted them to, did you put a prison around your heart?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly. And then that's what I'm saying. And that's early stage. Then I get to a stage where I feel like I actually got it right.
Okay.
I got married to my dream girl. I'm living the life in which I want to live. And then when life continues to happen, you then, because speaking from experience, I'm like, oh, wow, I thought I had it right. And I still fucked it up.
Okay.
It still didn't work out for me.
Right. And so at some point,
now as a man in his 40s,
uh-huh.
I'm looking to the women that I now am currently attracted to, most likely not going to be someone who still has those aspirations, hopes, and dreams as the young ladies I was
But what
looking
if
to.
they do, though?
And I'm not looking at the 20-something-year-olds.
No,
I'm not looking
even
at
in the 40s.
But at they're gonna come with some life. They're gonna come with some experiences,
And
or what we
some may
call.
come still wanting love, though.
I don't think love and marriage actually go together. I mean, they don't have to go together.
They don't have to go together.
Yeah, marriage
but if you
is
find a woman who still wants love, are you able to reciprocate, or are you at a point in your life where there should be no expectation of the woman you meet for emotional reciprocity? Is Nick Cannon still able to reciprocate emotionally, or are you beyond that? And if you are beyond
that's
that,
an interesting question.
do you communicate that honestly to the women you date?
Absolutely.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed that clip. So we're gonna dive into some points that Dr. Umar made to Nick Cannon. And the first point I want to discuss is marriage. He said marriage is good for the community, right? And marriage is good for the community. It's definitely good for the Black community. The more marriages we have and the more traditional nuclear families where it's a husband and wife and children, and there's some structure and hierarchy, the more children benefit from that relationship. There's a stable structure. Also, kids do better in school. They do better in life when they come from a structured environment, such as a nuclear family with a mother and a husband all together under the same household. Why do men need to get married, and when do they need to get married, right? I don't think it's right for men to go out there and just spread their seed. That comes under sexual discipline. And that's something that they talked about with Cam Newton and Nick Cannon. Of course, they've fathered multiple children with multiple different women. And with that, that shows a lack of sexual discipline because you're just spreading your seed, even though you can take care of the kids. Are you really involved in that household and in that child's life to give them the best opportunity and outcomes that they would have had if you were with just one woman under the same roof, or with all your women under the same roof? It may not be the best thing, but they're able to fully take care of their children and provide a lifestyle that most men wouldn't be able to provide if they fathered multiple children. So, but what we do see in the Black community a lot of times, and what a lot of people have a gripe with Black men, is that average or low quality Black men will father multiple children with multiple women, and that shows a huge lack of discipline, right? And then when they father these children, they usually cannot support them financially, and they're not in their lives the same way they would have been if they would have focused on becoming that person first and then settling down and finding the right woman, right? Now, this is why I say you really have to be disciplined in a way where you're not spreading your seed. And that's one thing men have to be accountable for, is that, we are responsible for how we spread our seed and what type of women we let into our lives. Because when you have a child with a woman, understand this, is that you're going to be tied to that woman for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. All right. So we do need some accountability there. Men do need to take more actions to be more disciplined when it comes to that. And just improving yourself to a level where you are financially set to be able to father these children and be able to be the provider and protector that these kids deserve. You want to give your kids the best outcome, the best structure for them to succeed in life, right? Because it's not just about you. It's about the legacy and the people that you affect after you're gone. Right, and most of you guys are not Nick Cannon or Cam Newton, so you're not able to provide a decent lifestyle for multiple children, all right? So don't do that. And even if you are those guys, that's not the best example you want to set. Even though they can do it, that's not the best way to go about it. All right. We're talking about optimization and the best way to deal with a family and just a structure. I think if more women accepted the fact that they're in a poly relationship with these guys, when you're dealing with a high value guy or a high earner, a guy who can get multiple women, like Nick Cannon, Cam Newton, you to some degree you have to understand that you're gonna have to share him with other women. So if more women understood the fact that they are going to share these guys at some point in time, and that to some degree they need to settle and be okay with that. And if you don't want that, look somewhere else, which means you get a guy who is on a much lower level or can't get women to the same degree, then you need to be okay with that. But you need to be settled in a mindset that you are going to be sharing these guys, and that maybe a poly relationship isn't the worst thing. All right. As long as your kids have the father in the home and they're under the same roof and they're able to give them the same outcomes, the same structure, then I think that should be something that you consider. The next point I want to talk about is Dr. Bryant and Cam Newton being the same person. Dr. Umar stated how they have the same tendencies, they have the same mindset. And while that is true, there are some key differences. Cam Newton is a man that is actively getting better as he ages, right? And that typically goes for most men. Men typically get more money as they get older. They get more experience. They get more discipline throughout life. And on the other hand, women, when they get older, they do get more experience, but that usually comes along with dealing with multiple men. It usually comes with heartbreak. It usually comes with a lot of trauma. And with that, age and experience comes a decrease in your sexual market value, because you're not able, a 40-year-old woman like Dr. Bryant is not going to be able to compete with the 20-year-old version of herself who would be on the dating market. All right. That's just the cold hard facts. You're not able to compete with them in terms of looks, availability, having a fun personality. Like I said, age and life and experience is gonna traumatize you to a certain degree, and you're not gonna be the same person who you were in your 20s compared to who you are in your 40s. And your options are going to be severely limited, right? Dr. Cheyenne Bryant says that she would date younger men up into their 20s. Now, that's a key point that you have to realize for women like that, all right? Women typically don't date younger men until they reach a certain point in their life where they're not attracting the same men in their age group, because the same men in their age group don't necessarily look at women who are in their same age group. We don't have to. A 40-year-old man is not the same as a 40-year-old woman. A 40-year-old man can go on and date much younger women and be okay with that. Now, Dr. Bryant, she can date a 20-year-old man, of course, but 20-year-old men are typically not as valuable as a 40-year-old guy. They don't have the experience, they don't have the maturity, and they don't have what it takes to be in a committed relationship, which is why she just dates them, right? She's not settling down. A 20-year-old guy isn't going to be as ready to settle down for marriage as, a guy in his 40s would be. But those are the men on her level. So in her 20s, her sexual market value was at its highest, and it started to decrease year after year after year. And when you look at the inverse of it, a man's sexual value increases year after year after year, which is why a 20-year-old sexual market value man is on the same level as a woman who is in her 40s, because her value decreased and his value hasn't reached its peak yet. So if you look at it, on just a logical numbers basis, their value is pretty much the same. So she's dating where she wants to be, but the issue is those guys are not going to commit to her. All right. And a lot of times women will do this where they waste time in their 20s, or they think that they have time to hold back on marriage, hold back on finding the right guy, and then they end up dating losers well into the 40s, or just being used for recreational use only and never find the guy that they truly want. A 41-year-old with no children is not the same as a 40-year-old man with no children who has put in the work, of course, being financially savvy, successful in his endeavors outside of his career, and also focused on his physical attributes as well. It's never going to be the same, right? A 40-year-old woman, like it or not, her physical attributes and looks are going to decline, and they're never going to be what they were when she was in her 20s. And that's when she should have capitalized on her value to find the best guy that she could have, but she didn't. And most women do this because they think that 20-year-old is really too young to settle down, when in reality it's not. It's more of a mindset change. The mindset of, are you a wife, and are you ready to be a wife when you meet the guy who is on your level? The next point I wanted to discuss is Nick Cannon and his take on traditional marriage, right? From the conversation, he wanted a traditional marriage. And I think most guys go through life wanting something similar to that as well. Most guys want to be married. We do. It's just that marriage has become more of a business contract, and it's a business deal where the woman has most of the power. And if she chooses to leave or break that business contract, the guy loses. Now, there are some cases where the woman makes significantly more than the guy, and he's able to benefit from that. But in most cases, let's say you have kids with this woman and you guys are making roughly about the same, the court will give her majority custody of the children, which means off rip, you're going to have to pay some type of child support to her. And in some cases, there are alimony laws. Depending on which state you live in, there's alimony laws, and half your assets have to be broken up so that she can still function and live the life without you, and live her life without you, because in their mind, she sacrificed her peak years of her life to support you and have your kids and your family. And while that is true, and I don't think they don't deserve anything, it's not necessarily even or fair right now. So that's what you need to understand. If you do want to get into marriage, you have to understand that if she decides to leave you, it will never be fair. I do believe in marriage, but I believe in doing it the right way. I think that you should be committed to your woman. I don't think it necessarily has to be signed in paper, but if you do it where your friends and your family are involved, and if you have some type of religious basis and you involve your religious leader, then I think that's perfectly fine as well. Most women are not going for that because I think they understand that they're giving up their peak years to be your wife, all right? But if you do find a woman who respects your leadership and understands the type of man that you are, she'll accept that. But I digress, right? That's between your relationship and your relationship with your woman. That's just how I would take it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. We broke this down a little bit. If you guys disagree or agree with my point, leave a comment, tell me what you think. If you want me to react to more videos like this, you want me to give my opinion on more videos like this, tell me what you want, hit me up, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.